Welcome to Your Healthy Kitchen from YRMC.
Welcome to YRMC's Your Healthy Kitchen. I'm your host, Rita Carey Rubin. Now we are going to spice it up in the kitchen today with talk about the nutrition and health benefits of chili peppers. Plus, we'll be making an award-winning salsa with my very special guest, YRMC's own salsa king, Jim Vorves. And Jim is manager at the YRMC IT department, where he works with his dedicated team, largely behind the scenes, to keep everything online and connected. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
So glad to share the set with you today and hear the story behind the salsa.
Yeah.
But first, tell us the story about your work at YRMC and how long you've been with the IT department.
Yeah, well, I've been there about 18 years, and started as a tech and just working on all the computers and get familiar with everything. And then when I went to, when we went to open up the East Campus, I was in charge of all the hardware there. So I got into that and managed that project, which put me in line for a little bit more of a supervisory position. And so since then, I've been made the manager of the workstation team.
Yeah.
And I have 7 highly qualified techs that take care of all the computers, hundreds and hundreds of computers.
Yeah.
And virtual machines as well. And while we are behind the scenes, we're also kind of the face of IT as well, because you never see the programming guys or the systems guys. My guys are out on the floor rounding, making sure that everybody has everything they need up and running.
Right, and it's the YRMC Physician Care offices, both campuses.
Yep, the whole
So
thing.
many things that you take care of.
Yeah.
Yes, and you are largely behind the scenes until somebody has a
there's an
problem.
issue.
And you know, over the years, I've called on your department many times.
Yep.
With nothing major, just little problems, but
Yeah.
I have always been impressed and amazed with how quickly your team responds to my calls for help.
That's
And
our goal.
yes, and how knowledgeable and actually very patient they are.
Yeah.
So I really want to take this time to officially thank you.
Oh, it's our
and
pleasure.
to thank them for all of that very professional troubleshooting. So thank you so much, you guys. Yes.
Thanks.
Now, what's the story behind the salsa?
Well, about 40 years ago, we started making salsa as an addition to existing salsa. You know, we'd buy something off the shelf, we have our little garden, and we would add things to it and make it our own. A little crunch, a little pizzazz, change the heat level. Well, one day we didn't have any off-the-shelf salsa, so we made our own, and it was incredibly good. It was so much better, all fresh, and so we never went back. So about 10 years of making the salsa, adjusting the recipe, the heat level, getting familiar with the product. I'm half Greek and half Polish, so I'm a grease pole making salsa. And I don't understand where it came from, but I'm so happy that I found it and it found me. And we just perfected the recipe and entered our first contest in '98, I think, in Sedona.
Wow.
And we were able to come out victorious there and had been winning ever since.
Yeah. So necessity was the mother of invention for you.
Yeah, mother, father, uncle.
No salsa, got to make our own.
Yep.
So it sounds like you worked through some varieties, but boy, that first one that you put out there actually was the winner.
Right, and I think the balance of so many different peppers makes it, because you can make a great salsa with just a jalapeno and a serrano, an onion, and some cilantro. It's great.
Yeah.
But to find something that appeals to everybody and has a balance of flavors, we went with 7, 8, sometimes 9 peppers for our contest variety that we make. And it adds a little mango, we add a little lime juice, some salt, and everything else just comes together.
Brings it together. Well, let's make some salsa and tell us about the ingredients and how you do it. Tell us about the recipe.
Great.
And put me to work.
Okay.
I've already started on this.
And you've done extremely well on the chopping of the tomatoes without any direction, which is very surprising and awesome. Thank you. So they need to be small.
They need to be small, right?
We don't want big chunks of anything really on.
Right.
So how we achieve that is careful chopping of everything about the same size. We do about 1/3 of the ingredients by hand.
Okay, 1/3
And since we're doing 3 peppers of each kind and 3 tomatillos and so on, we then food process about 2/3 of it, which we go ahead and chunk it up, toss it together.
Yes.
And when we get done with this, we'll salt it, we'll lime juice it, and we'll put it in the food processor in groups so it's all kind of homogeneous.
Okay.
And it comes together much better that way, I find.
Okay, that's nice. And that probably really blends the flavors together.
It does. So I'm going to get some lime juice started, if that's okay, and a little salt, and then we'll toss that in there.
Okay.
We've gone ahead and microwaved the lime, 10 seconds per lime.
Yeah.
It just we roll it first, and then we loosen it up, and it provides a lot more of that juice, releases a lot more of that juice for us.
Okay, so 10 seconds per lime after you roll it.
Right. So then we squeeze it over our chopped ingredients here. And these are just a rough chop. You don't have to get small because they're all going into the food processor.
Okay.
But we want it to come together.
Okay. And so you're kind of marinating them a little bit.
A little bit, yes.
Bringing the flavors together right in that bowl.
And we'll go ahead with a little bit of salt.
A little bit of salt, okay.
And that starts pulling those juices out. Then we toss it a little to get it coated nicely.
Okay.
Everybody's happy. And
nice toss there.
thank you.
You've done this a few times.
I've done it a few times, few hundred times. I've been making it for 40 years, and we've entered contests for 20-some years.
Oh my gosh. I think you mentioned earlier. So you're gonna chunk about 2/3 of the ingredients and hand dice 1/3. But the tomatoes you want to just hand dice. Is that correct?
Yes. They go into the processor, and they do tend to foam up on us.
Yeah.
So we generally don't put them in the food processor.
Okay.
But then for our onions here, we just chop them all nice and small and very, very uniform if we can, because nobody wants, well, I do, but a lot of people don't like big chunks of onion.
Right.
So we go ahead and chop those up.
So you kind of think about that it's got to fit on a chip.
Yeah, along with all of its friends.
All of its friends, sure.
Right.
Yes. This is great to have a chopping companion here.
You don't get that much?
No, it's great. So tell me about the varieties of chilies that you found were your winning combination. All
right, so we've, start with what you have, the mother of invention again.
Right.
Necessity says, what do you have available? And use that. So we came up with the jalapenos, serranos. They happen to have some red Fresnos, which is a red jalapeno.
Yes.
Right?
And Serrano is the little guy, right?
Very good.
Serrano, jalapeno, red Fresno.
Right, and that's also called a red jalapeno.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
And then we got poblanos. The dried version is called pasilla. Sometimes they call them that in the store.
Right.
Tomatillos, which look like green tomatoes exactly, but they come in a little papery husk, which you take off, and there's a little sticky residue there. You rinse those, and there's actually a berry.
Yeah.
And it's got a little tart bitterness to it that really adds a lot to our salsa.
And it's the main ingredient in salsa verde, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That and green chilies, right? So that will get chopped and diced the same as your tomatoes.
Okay.
Then we have habaneros.
Yes.
These are the hot ones, yes.
Yes.
So we don't take any of the seeds out. Sometimes we'll take them out of the poblanos just because they kind of come out on their cap and we don't bother to separate them. But we don't remove seeds per se. So that adds a lot of flavor and some texture. And I know that sometimes they look like they might have a little seediness to the finished product, but if you get past that, if you like hot stuff, it really doesn't matter.
Because the heat is right around the seeds.
Correct.
A lot of the heat, not all the heat, but a lot of it.
Right, that membrane that they're attached to.
Yes, okay.
And let's see, we've got these yellow hot peppers here. Also Anaheim chilies, the longer green version of that is a nice mild pepper, but it has a really excellent flavor.
Okay.
And those are generally included as well.
Okay.
Then we've got our Roma tomatoes, which is, as you mentioned, really the only tomato that has any decent flavor in the grocery store.
They are.
If you have your own in your garden, which they should be coming up in another month or so, those would be perfect.
Yes, and even canned tomatoes, diced tomatoes, if you've got to...
if you've got to make do, if that necessity comes up again. Get those petite diced ones, otherwise you got big chunks like in tomato sauce for your spaghetti, which is a little less appealing.
Petite diced.
Yes.
And you have a nice technique for your chunking your peppers there.
Yeah, we can start with the pasilla, and we just, or the poblano, excuse me. Just take the cap off once around the block. There's the seeds that come out.
Yeah.
I don't worry about taking the rest of the few out that stay in there. Get rid of that.
That's it.
Then we just kind of chop this up. I do a little rotational thing here, and they go into the food processor bowl.
Easy peasy.
Yep.
It's quick.
Now I've already, let's see, do we have a spot for these onions? Can I have that bowl over there?
Yes, absolutely. So we've got some of the onion is chunked in the bowl already. It was a pretty big red onion.
Yeah, it was.
You want a pretty big one?
You know, if you like, it really doesn't matter. Like I was saying earlier, you can forget a couple of ingredients or not have them, and I've had to make it without onions. Some people have a problem with onions and garlic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still the tastiest
Okay.
salsa you'll find.
Yeah. Okay.
So on the smaller peppers, we can cut the caps off. This one's got a little bit of a problem child on the end here. We just get rid of that.
The bad spot. Great.
And
Well,
we'll just slice these up as well.
while we're talking, tell me, I know you've won a bunch of awards,
We have, yes.
but tell me about a couple of them. You brought a few with you.
Yes, I have this
Yeah.
one here. This is from, I believe, our first contest over in Sedona. This is our 1998 award.
1998.
And it's best overall salsa from the Oak Creek Brewing Company, which is still a great place to go and
Yes,
have a
it
beer.
is. Is that your first award?
I believe it was one of the first
One
ones,
of the
maybe
first.
the first.
Okay.
I have a bunch from the Downtown Partnership here in Prescott. They're very nice trophies, but they gave me cash as well, so
that's not
I was
bad.
happy with that. We also had the chili contest the next day after the salsa contest. This is 98, this was 1999. I won both chili and salsa that year. And so I take some of my salsa and started the chili for the next day.
That's a great idea.
And just really got that heat and the flavor going right away. So these are the couple that I brought for our early contest.
Early ones. So two of many awards
Yeah.
that you've had. Yes. So I have a confession to make. I can't tolerate chilies. And here I am making salsa with you.
That's not right.
I know it's not right. I've tried. I just don't do well with the really spicy stuff. I can do a little spice.
Do they affect your fingers when you're chopping them?
No,
Okay.
it's more.
I'll let you chop
it's
these.
more of an internal kind of thing.
Yes.
So what would you recommend for someone who likes salsa? I love the flavor.
Right.
But I need it to be kind of mild.
Well, there's a solution for that.
Okay.
Used to be my thought was if you didn't want hot salsa, then go get it off the shelf at the grocery store.
Go big or go home.
Right, or both.
Yeah. All right.
So I did have to alter that. My mother-in-law is living with us, and she does not care for the heat. Can't tolerate it. So I made it a challenge specifically to make really good salsa that's also not hot. So I would use those Anaheim peppers, the long green ones we talked about.
Yes.
They're like the lowest on the pepper scale besides bell peppers.
Yes.
But then I would grab those mini bell peppers that are red, yellow, and orange. They come in a little bag usually. And I would make that the balance of the pepper content.
Okay.
Still use the red onion, and hopefully it wouldn't be that its own heat. They have sometimes some heat. And garlic and cilantro. She loves cilantro, so I win there. I don't have to make it too different. And so that way you can make a completely mild salsa that still gives you that satisfaction of with your Mexican food.
You're a very good son-in-law.
Hear that? No,
Well, I'm going to try that at home for sure. So I know that as well as being really creative in the kitchen with making salsa and other things, you also have other creative outlets, including music.
Yes, as a matter of
Tell us
fact.
about your musicianship, what your instrument is.
I play the piano.
Piano, okay.
I learned that my dad's knee when I was like 2. I started duplicating simple things that he would do, and I've been playing ever since. I did take 6 months of lessons, and then I played trumpet through school in the school band, and then I was in the jazz band with the piano as well, and been writing and recording music basically for myself and friends ever since.
That's so neat.
Yeah.
The music is just so important, and what a wonderful outlet. And
Absolutely.
you have, we talk about the different sides of our brains. There's the left and the right, and I always forget which one is which. But with your job at YRMC, it's very much technical, very technical.
It is.
Science-oriented, math-oriented, and then you have this beautiful creative side to you. So.
Well,
Quite the renaissance
I appear
man.
more balanced than I am, but yes.
Well, do I need to chop anything else up here?
Let's see.
I've got the hot chilies, I've got the jalapeno, the serrano, the red Fresno. Do I need to chop one of these?
That would be awesome if you would
Okay.
get that ready.
Okay.
And I'm doing the garlic as well. I didn't mention that, but
Yeah.
basically you crush the
You have a
crush
special
the clove.
technique with that.
Yeah, you crush the clove and it takes the outer paper husk off and allows you to access the garlicky wonderfulness.
Yes. And that's for the chunked one. Do you also chop one for texture?
Generally, I don't.
You don't.
I put them all in to be spun up.
Okay.
Actually, I did shift.
You shifted.
I shifted to elephant garlic.
Yeah.
And it's a much larger clove. You see me fondling this one in a nearly inappropriate manner. But I'm trying to get this all off of here, so we do a little crush. But the big cloves are fantastic because I can handle them with my big fat fingers, and they're a little bit milder, so you can add more. Thank you. More garlic flavor without overwhelming it because it's a little milder.
That's a great idea. I see the elephant garlic, and I rarely get it, but that's a wonderful idea. It's like a little mellower flavor.
It is.
Yeah. All
so
right, Jim.
The last thing I have here is, well, besides these lovely guys.
Oh yeah, the habaneros.
And I'm just going to put those in there as well.
Okay. Do I need to chop some of this too?
I've got plenty in there, so we'll take care of that.
All right.
So cilantro is our next victim here, and I generally slice it up, dice it up, mince it up pretty small because you've got stems in here as well, and nobody wants really a big chunk of stem. So even though it's going in the food processor, I tend to just roll it up tight like this so you can get a whole bunch of it chopped at once and go down to the point where you're getting into the stems.
So you're cutting a little bit of the stem, but it's not
mostly
they're really small pieces.
Right.
And not big chunks. And you do something with those stems.
Right. When I'm making my hot salsa, I get like 6 or 8 more habaneros.
Oh my goodness.
And another serrano or two, and another poblano, and another jalapeno or two. And I put those in with the stems, and I'll process it smooth.
Okay.
So it'll just blend it all the way down. There won't be much texture to it, but oh my goodness, the flavor.
Yeah, that would kill me.
It is so good. So that's and then what I can do with that is if this is not hot enough for you, I add some of that to it and make you a extra hot or a medium hot or whatever. Right. So you got all these different levels, and when I'm making the mild, that has a specific flavor as well that's really, really good. It's just not hot at all. So sometimes I'll add some of that mild into my medium.
Oh, sure.
Just to give it that extra flavor, but not take away from the heat.
Because it's not just about the heat. You got to have that.
Not completely, no.
Not completely.
No, it's all about the flavor. The heat just happens to be exhilarating.
Yeah,
you know?
for some.
And so good for you.
It is. That capsaicin, that molecule, that is the thing that is.
I love your shirt, by the way.
Isn't that fun? So, what do you do now?
Well, I'm going to pull these guys off.
Oh, yes, we got the habaneros. This is going to be the hot stuff. Yeah.
Since it's already too hot for you, we're just going to go over the top.
Go for it. So when this is ready, we have one of our crew here in the studio is going to come and taste this with Jim.
Right. Could I have one more lime? There she is.
Sir.
That one there is still warm? Yes.
Still warm.
That's the right one.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a great trick. Except we want to be careful. Just 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Don't microwave that.
You probably could go 11, but why risk it?
So it's going to get hot, and you're going to cut into that, and it could cause some damage, right? So
yes.
Be careful. Yeah. But it just squeezes so easily, you know, especially, you know, limes, sometimes it's hard to get juice out.
Yeah, and what if you don't have a squeezer?
If you don't have a squeezer. And in the store, what I try to do is I go through and I try to find the ones that seem to have a little thinner skin and have a little bit of squish to them already. If they're hard as a rock, you're not going to get anything out of them. So, all right, sir.
Okay. So now, let me give this another toss.
A little toss.
Whoa.
Sometimes you get some escapees.
Well, there's a runaway mango.
It's just beautiful. I wish the aroma is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Between the herbs and all of the chilies.
Right. So what we're going to do is go ahead and.
Yeah. You know, let me get you a spoon. Maybe that might be handy.
Well, this is kind of a hands-on gig.
Is it?
So.
Okay. Well, I've got one if you need one. All right.
So we're getting this nice homogeneous mixture. So each time we do a blend on it or a pulse, it's going to be the same texture, consistency throughout, and they're already starting to get friendly with one another and prepare for their final destiny.
Yes. So you're trying to get a blend of have the chilies, the mangoes, the cilantro, everything in there together.
Right, and this is one of the little secrets that I just gave away.
You guys heard it here.
So we want to pulse this so we don't get into a blending mode. If you like it blended, blend it. But this gives you that surface area that releases all that wonderful flavor. And we have a final bowl. Oh, that's our final bowl.
This is our
right
final
there.
bowl.
Great.
Yeah, this is a boatload of salsa.
Yeah, it makes about three quarts, I think.
Yeah. I think you mentioned that when you were making salsa for your contests. How many gallons did you make at one time?
We did one big contest in Tempe a few years ago, and it was 13 gallons of each kind of salsa, and I chose to make 2 kinds of salsa. I hesitant to give away the other one.
Don't do it.
Okay.
That
But
one's a secret.
we did come across a winning combination of hot and fruity salsa.
Yeah.
And that was at one of the 2002 or 3 competitions downtown, the Prescott Downtown Partnership put on.
Is that when you came up with your great shirt?
Actually, I got the shirt for the big contest with the 13 gallons of each.
Okay.
I made the shirt, and I had a little idea of what I wanted my logo to look like. Can I show the back?
Yes.
So.
Kind of, there's some similarity here.
A little bit. I did have a goatee at the time, so. But that's I gave my idea to one of my coworkers, the guy that was working for me at the time.
Yep.
And Dom Byron, I have to mention him, because I didn't pay him. So. He came up with that design, and I was just thrilled with it. So I made some shirts, and
that's great.
We took them to the contest.
That's great. So we're blending the
2/3.
We're just the 2/3 of the ingredients are just roughly chopped in the food processor. Yes. Or a spatula-like thing. There you go.
Wow. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
All right. So now we'll just make sure everything gets a little bit chopped up. We don't want any big chunks of anything. A lot of people they like that all smooth
and
texture.
You notice there's just a pinch of salt in this whole thing.
And we salt it to taste when we're done.
Salt it to taste?
Yes.
Okay. But still, with all that flavor, that's really been my philosophy with cooking is, if you have flavor from herbs and spices and fresh ingredients, you don't need a lot of salt.
Right.
As it just stands. And salt really just tends to, it should be bringing the flavor out of the food, and you shouldn't necessarily get hit with a bunch of salt.
Yeah, you don't want to mask it.
You don't want to mask it, yeah. So.
And the other thing with this salsa is you have to adjust it. You buy chips, they all have different salt levels.
True.
So you want to leave that open till you actually start tasting it.
Yeah.
Go easy on the salt to start with.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Kyle, are you ready to come over and try this amazing salsa? Smells really good.
It's looking pretty awesome, too.
Kyle gave the thumbs up to the chips I bought earlier. These happen to be a brand called Siete, and they are really yummy. They have lime and salt, so they are a little salty, aren't they?
Thanks for having me on the show,
Oh,
Rita.
You bet.
Can't wait to
Give it a try. Jim, you should try your salsa, too.
I probably should taste it.
You should. See what you think.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Let me get another one.
Are you starting to sweat yet? How you doing? Good heat?
This
It's
one,
good. It's just the way I like it.
good. And this will build up a little bit of heat. If you eat 5 or 6 chips with a good amount on them,
Yeah.
some people have to take a little pause, but
Okay.
Oh, I can feel it now.
yeah,
I feel it now.
we used to call it the three-step salsa. We would have people come up and they're, oh, that's not hot. And they'd walk away 3 steps and then they'd turn around and go, oh, there it is.
Is that true?
It tastes all flavorful as soon as you start
Up
trying
front.
it, and then all of a sudden when you stop, it kicks in. Yeah, I'm starting to sweat.
Okay, we got it. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kyle. So, just a few fun facts to share with you about chilies and some of the potential health benefits. So, chilies have been used as a spice for over 6,000 years. And together with salt, chilies are the most consumed condiment around the world. And we know that's true at Jim's house.
Absolutely.
For sure, and Kyle's probably too.
Yeah.
Capsaicin is the ingredient in chilies responsible for the hot sensation on your tongue, and it's also the main agent responsible for the health benefits of chilies. So capsaicin is this molecule that's concentrated in chilies in the tissues around the seeds.
Correct.
And that's where it acts as, actually for the plant, it acts as a protection against pests and bacteria and fungus and other things that might want to eat it. I thought this was so cool. Birds are not affected by capsaicin, and they play a big role in propagating chilies by eating and then spreading its seeds.
Thank you, birds.
Yes, I mean, more chilies for the world. The health benefits of chilies include reducing insulin resistance, improving blood glucose after meals, reducing inflammation, acting as an antioxidant, and impairing the growth of H. pylori, which is the bacteria that can cause stomach ulcers. Capsaicin skin patches are also effective as an analgesic for pain control. And nutritionally, chili peppers, oh my gosh, they're packed with vitamin C, potassium, and a boatload of phytochemicals, which is kind of the medicine is in chilies. So, Jim, thank you.
You're welcome.
For this awesome visit to our set. Is there anything else you want to share with our viewers about the art and science of salsa?
Well, one of my favorite sayings has arisen out of salsa, and because when I make it, people are like, man, it's the best batch you've ever made. And I'm like, it can't keep being the best. So I formulated this saying, the salsa in your memory, excuse me, the salsa in your mouth is always better than the salsa in your memory.
It's always good, yes.
And capsaicin, I need to borrow that shirt.
No, well, actually, I got one for you.
Oh,
Look at that.
I get my own shirt.
You do, because you are so spicy.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All
I'm sure
right.
you have a ton of chili shirts, but there you
Not
go.
enough.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Never enough.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Well, yes, well, thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And thanks to all of you for joining us too. Remember to check out all of our videos and collection of healthy, delicious, family-friendly, and easy recipes at YRMC Health Connect. And you can also join me in my kitchen at home by following me on Facebook at YRMC's Your Healthy Kitchen, where you'll see the latest recipes, photos, and videos of the food I make at home, plus links to my favorite food, nutrition, and gardening destinations on the web. So until next time, eat well, be well, spice it up with more salsa, make more salsa, and I'll see you soon.